So let's go live. Yeah, we are live. Okay. We are live. I'm just watching whether people are able to see us. Hey guys, can you tell us in the chat box whether you are able to hear us, me and Jack properly, whether we are audible? Eliza, she's saying hi Jack, hi Shashank. Hey. Guys, just let us know in the chat box whether you are able to hear us properly. Hey guys, can you tell us in the chat box whether you are able to hear us, me and Jack properly, whether we are audible? So, are you guys able to hear Jack's voice? Please, yeah, guys, please let us know in the. Okay, we both are audible. That's super cool. Oh, yeah. I mean, for the first time, I was able to set up the OBS in a one single go. Otherwise, like in my previous streams, I was just hustling through. Oh my god, the speaker is not audible. Something like that. Whoa. So guys, I am very much excited. I can see lots of like messages in the live chat, Jack. Everybody is just welcoming you, and for me, I mean, like everybody. Okay, there are a lot of people. Okay, you guys saying voice is echoing. I think it shouldn't be. Can you guys again confirm? Jack need to fix the mic. Jack is not. Yeah, guys, please confirm if he's audible or not properly. Jack is not now. I can't. Okay, so they are saying now they can't hear you. So your mic and everything is connected properly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can see it, and I can see, like, I mean, you can hear me, right? So.
Yeah. Okay, they are saying your voice is bit low.
Oh, it's just low.
We can't.
Maybe that's because it's like going through two things, or.
Mm-hmm. Jack is not audible.
Not audible. What is there? Do I need to like join something else, or like? 'Cause I'm
No.
only on YouTube right now.
Okay, let me try just this way. Jack.
I can't hear you now.
Okay, guys, just let me know now. Like he is audible.
Yeah.
Just let me know he's okay.
Yeah, am I audible now? Is that a little bit better? Maybe? No?
Volume is very low for Jack. How is it possible? I mean, everything is fixed. Everything is good here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's interesting.
Okay, they are saying now. Okay, they can hear both of us. Oh, finally.
Awesome. Whew, 1 minute in. All right, we got this.
Okay. Okay, so people who are on my channel for the very first time, so if you don't know about Jack, so he's working as a tech lead at Airbnb, and previously he worked for Facebook and Netflix, and his journey is, I mean, very awesome. If you haven't seen his journey on my YouTube channel, just go how he actually started, and like what sort of experience he had. His beginning is truly inspiring, trust me. Like when I recorded a podcast with Jack, and when I got to know about him, that what kind of hustle he has been through, so it's truly motivational. And today, what we are going to do, for all the aspiring data professionals, we will be picking up your queries, so that Jack, like, we will actually get to know from Jack's experience what he thinks about the big data domain, future growth, and different job profiles, because there is lots of noise in the market. Everybody's a bit confused. Okay, for a data scientist, what I actually need to learn, for a data engineering, what I actually need to learn, right? So we will be talking about these things. So ask your questions, right? And also please don't spam the same questions again and again. We will try our level best to pick some awesome questions so that it can collectively answer all the queries in a go. So yep, you guys can start. So first, yeah, Jack, you can also introduce yourself. Like people also want to hear from you. Where are you from, and how you're doing, and how the things are going on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah. I'm Zach. I've been doing like LinkedIn kind of stuff for like about 6-7 months now. Kind of like really kind of trying to grow a channel. It's been kind of interesting. Yeah, I've been working at Airbnb for like about 8 months now. It's been pretty interesting, pretty exciting work. Like I kind of am in the middle between like software engineering and data engineering. I kind of do both, kind of a mix of both. I'm pretty aware of like the space though, so it's pretty exciting. And I just moved back to San Francisco. I moved back like a week ago, and like it's been great.
Yeah, nice. So I mean, why this session is going to be really interesting, because Jack has a good experience in both of the domains, right? Working in the software engineering and the data part as well. So he can answer like your queries. If you think, if I am a software engineer, can I move into data engineering, or vice versa as well. So first question, Jack, for you, like it is from Karthike. So he's asking, is SQL important for data engineering roles?
Yes, 100%. Like, I mean, I would say that even when you go and look at the interview processes of companies, right? I mean, like when I interviewed at Google, at Facebook, at Netflix, at Airbnb, at Amazon, when I interviewed at all of these companies, like every single one, they asked me SQL for at least like an hour or two. Like I got at least an hour or two of SQL at every single one of those companies. None of them were like, oh yeah, SQL's optional, right?
Yeah.
They were all like, no, SQL is a very critical part. Would you agree with that, Shawshank?
Yeah, definitely. And even in Amazon, I would say there were two technical rounds where at least for 30 minutes they were asking SQL queries. And this was something, even when I started my career in big data, I was not that good in the SQL, right? I learned these things while working on different projects and learning from different people, like using some advanced part of SQL, those grouping sets, window functions, and these cool stuffs, right? So these things you
Yeah.
actually learn from people, and it is very important. I definitely agree with your point, Jack.
Yeah, and I think another important kind of tidbit there about just like SQL and interviewing is that like make sure that you are very good about window functions, because like almost always the in the interview the SQL question is gonna be solved with a window function. Like it's almost always a window function. Like,
Yeah.
at least that's been my experience over like the last 5 years. Like so, yeah, definitely brush up on those if you're going to do a SQL interview.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so Arnab is asking, what is more important, Hadoop or Hive?
Oh, okay, that's an interesting one. I think that like a couple of years ago, I would have said Hadoop. I would have said Hadoop was more like I think that this is something that's changed though. So I would say because Hive is actually two pieces, right? It's the execution engine and it's also the metadata management, right? It's like
Yeah.
the metadata store and it's also like the execution engine. I think the metadata store is pretty important. That's like one of like I've used that at all companies, at Facebook, at Netflix, at Airbnb. I've used all, like at all of them. I think that the execution engine is actually less important. I think that that's going to be replaced. That's going to be replaced by Spark. Right, it's already happening. I mean, like there's at all these companies. I've been part of the migration efforts to get off of Hive and move stuff to Spark, because you get like a 30 to 40% usually gain in efficiency if you move to Spark. So I'd say that that's kind of what I would say. Like. And I guess I'd say, because I think Hadoop is less important, like in terms of like HDFS, because like more companies are moving to like S3 and the cloud, and like they aren't really using HDFS as much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so for this one, just an add on, right? So if you are someone who is moving to the data engineering, definitely Hadoop, and knowing about Hadoop and Hive, it's important. But please like focus on the Spark side as much as you can, because that is going to be treated as a must to have skill set for you, and that's how you will gain more visibility. The way, let's say, Jack worked migration part, oh yeah, this guy something added on the runtime and execution efficiency. So that's truly, like, Spark is the most recommended and important one. So next question, okay, IT, his name is. So he's asking for experienced data engineer. Do we need to learn, or do we also need to do this competitive programming part?
Oh, that's a great that's a good question. So, I mean, I would say that there's like, so for me, like when I was interviewing back in January, right? I was like, okay, how much competitive programming should I do? Like, and like I personally did about 10. I did about 10 leak code problems because I was like, I wanted to make sure that like I didn't feel rusty. I didn't like I didn't like do a ton though. I wasn't like trying to like do all the leak code problems. I wasn't trying to do that, like, because if I do that, I feel stressed, right? And I don't want to do that. So I would say yes, because of the fact that like that's what they're going to ask you those questions. But like I guess like in Airbnb, they didn't really ask like as tricky of questions. That's actually one of the things I've noticed as a difference between the software engineering roles and the data engineering roles, is that the data engineering roles, you might get like a leak code medium, like you'll get like probably one leak code medium that you have to solve. Whereas like in software engineering, like they're either going to give you a leak code medium with all the optimizations, or they're going to give you a leak code hard, right? They're going to like give you like, and like I think that's where like there is a difference between data engine, software engine in that way. So
yeah, that's true. And yeah, I agree with Jack's point for this one as well. Even I have experienced this one, like when I was interviewing for the different companies for the data engineering role. So you should have a good understanding of DSA part, right? I mean, let's say somebody asks you to solve a problem, so that at least you can suggest a good approach. For a data engineers, they won't be expecting you, or they won't be treating you as a pure software engineer who is really good on the DSA side, knowing more advanced stuffs like graphs or the dynamic programming, right? So being a data engineer, they more focus on your big data skill sets, your designing part. How do you create the automated and scalable data pipelines, the challenges, and more in depth? Like, you should definitely focus on that part, and average level coding questions and good understanding of the DSA. That, I mean, you are a complete package. Like, you can crack any of the good companies.
Yep.
Great. So let's move on to the next question. Jagrit Munjal, how can I make a career transition from BI developer to a data engineer? And I think, Jack, you can include most of the things, right? Let's say somebody who is at X profile and want to move into the data engineering. So what should be the correct approach? And that X could be anything: software engineering, BI, data scientist, or anything.
Yeah, I think that I would say that there's a couple of things there to like make that transition. Like, one is around like just getting decent at a programming language. You should be able to pick up like most likely Python, like or like Java or Scala. Usually Python and Scala are the two that are like the two big ones right now for data engineering. I would say Python is like definitely by far and away the most popular. So picking up something like that. Learning SQL, like we talked about at the beginning, that's also very critical. Another thing is like data modeling, like knowing how to like model the data and understanding your customers and like how they are going to use the data, right? So there's also like this kind of like soft skill element of like understanding your customers and what they want, and like that kind of business side of being a data engineer is definitely like a very, very important part of it as well. And I would say those are the big things. I would say, like, would you add anything to that, Shawshank?
Yeah, I mean, programming part, yes, one. The Python and Scala. Python most recommended one from my side. Data modeling, SQL, and just to get an edge, right? If you are someone who didn't work on the cloud side, I would definitely recommend you to explore any of the cloud, right? AWS, Azure, GCP, anything that is going to help you, and even you will stand apart from the other candidates. So because most of the solution or the pipelines we used to create, that will be on the cloud side. And yeah, I mean, if you are good with the data modeling, and if you can interact with the customers as well, that will help you in your growth. Like, you will definitely jump very frequently onto the next role. It will help you, right? So I think overall, yes, these are the very important things. You to move from any of the like X profile to the data engineering. And for that one, like, I have even created a good roadmap. like very crisp and to the point roadmap on my YouTube channel. You can just go there and check that out to like become a good data engineer, at least what all skill sets you should have. And I think that's even Jack has clarified. So thank you so much, Jack, for answering this common question, because like moving from X to data engineering is the most often asked question. I think you might be also receiving this kind of question. Hey Jack, let's say I'm a support engineer, I want to move into the data engineering. I'm a data scientist, I want to move into the data engineering. So that's the really common question. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, some of the questions, guys, I think you can even feel that if we have answered your question, let's say in an indirect way, so don't feel like that I'm not reading your question and why I'm not just giving a shout out to you because we need to answer all other questions as well. All right, so I think for SQL we have answered the question. All right, this is a good question. So Fernando is asking, how is a typical day of Jack at Airbnb? That's an interesting one.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. Yeah, I'll go over that one. So like, so for me, I kind of have kind of two typical days because like I would say my Mondays and Wednesdays are significantly different from my Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Mondays and Wednesdays, I have like maybe like I'll start the day at like 9 a.m. I have like one or two meetings on those days, and then the rest of the time is dedicated to like design and to coding and implementing stuff. On Tuesdays and Thursdays are like very heavy meeting days, like on especially Tuesdays, like I'll have meetings almost back to back from 9 a.m. to like 4 p.m. on Tuesdays, where it's just like I'll have like a 30-minute break maybe in the middle, like where I'm just talking to so many people, because like that's what, as a tech lead, you need to be able to do those things, and like because I have a very broad scope of things that I need to like look at.
Yeah.
And so like being able to communicate with people and understand like what the status of things is, and like where people are blocked or where people are like maybe not making the right decisions and stuff like that, and kind of like being aware of all those things is definitely a big part of my role for sure. Like
great. One more question, like just an addition from my side. So like what are the perks of working at Airbnb? I think how do you enjoy your life like being at Airbnb?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, Airbnb has some great perks actually. So like, one of my favorite perks is every quarter we get $500 of credit, right? Of travel credit, right? So like you can use that to travel because they want you to use the app, right? They're like, go travel, travel, right? And so that's amazing. I really like that. I also just like one of the other things that I really like about Airbnb is just like the culture in a way, because like so one of the things is they have this culture called be a host, right? So what that means is like they want like it's like be accommodating to people, be friendly, be caring, right? And like a lot of people at Airbnb, like all my coworkers and all those people, like everyone really actually like does that. Like it's pretty cool. It's not just like they say to do it and then no one actually does it, like a lot of company guidelines are sometimes, but people actually do this. And like so I feel like everyone's very friendly at Airbnb, and like it feels like I'm working with a bunch of friends all the time, which is also a really great perk. It's really wonderful.
That's super cool. And that the last part is very important. Like the environment is something which makes you comfortable, and it actually it is kind of add on for your productivity. When you have a good smart people around you and they are friendly in nature, you come up with some out of the box ideas, right? So great. And guys, if you are liking all this whole conversation, make sure to like this video as well so that it can reach to the broader audience. And yeah, we will keep on answering all such questions, and let's move on to the next one. All right. Okay. So for the data engineer skills, we have answered. Okay, someone asked the question. I think this is a good one as well. Like, so Saurabh Sabu asked, like, is Hive going to be dead? Because Spark SQL is kind of alternative for that. What's your thought? I mean,
I have kind of two thoughts here again, because since Hive is actually two things. Like I think I think in the long run, I think Hive is going away. I think in like 5 to 10 years, I think actually both are going away, both the meta store and the execution engine.
Okay.
Because I think that because even the meta store has its own problems with like partitions and stuff. But so let's just talk about the execution first. So the execution engine is just MapReduce, right? And it's very inefficient in its own ways, right? And companies are going to be like, yeah, we're going to use Spark. It's just better. It's just it's a lot better. And I think that the execution engine is probably going to be going away in the next 2 or 3 years, probably for most companies. There's going to be a long tail of people who are going to still be on Hive, just like there's a long tail of people who are on Oracle and on all just a long tail of technologies that it's going to be around, but it just won't be such a powerhouse, right? Yeah. And then I think the Metastore, there's other new interesting technologies out there. I don't know if you've heard of Apache Iceberg. That's a new one. Iceberg is one that I think is really cool, because one of the things that's bad about the Hive Metastore is it doesn't allow append. Right, okay. You can't append to files. Right, it's you can only overwrite files. You can't append. Right, and as things get more streaming oriented, I think that append feature is going to be way more critical. Yeah. And that's where Apache Iceberg, which was developed at Netflix, I pioneered some of that stuff. That was some of I want to see more adoption for it for sure. So this is definitely a plug for Apache Iceberg. But nice. There's probably going to be other competitors in the space that are going to replace the Hive Metastore. Mm-hmm. But I think that one's going to take longer though, because replacing that is a huge deal for most companies.
Yeah, so, I mean, the companies which are, let's say, on the legacy part, obviously they are not going to touch it as soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I think one question from Priyansh. So he's saying Python versus Java for data science, and I think it's really straightforward. For data science, it is Python or R. I mean, I don't think so there is any sort of a scope for the Java, because Python and Java, I think R is the most oftenly used, right?
Yeah. I think that there's it depends on what you're trying to do there though. I would say that there is still a spot for Java and stuff like that, but not for the data science workflow. When the data scientist is developing a model, they're most likely going to be in Python in a Jupyter notebook and playing around with some data. Yeah, most likely.
Cool libraries.
But, yeah, exactly. They're going to import some really cool library and it's going to work, right? The thing is though, is that when you try to put that model into production, then sometimes you need that model to work with your backend, right? Yeah. It needs to work with the backend systems. And sometimes you might get lucky and your backend is written in Python and you're good to go. Other times you might need to have a step that translates that model into a Java runtime or a Java environment, especially if that's your backend, or any other one. It could also be Go or Rust or whatever other, million other backend languages there are, right? That's for scoring mainly, right? After the model's trained, that's for doing the scoring in the online systems. So
yep, that's true. All right, so moving on to the next questions. Okay, let me find the interesting one. So is Informatica Power Center helpful for data engineering? I think it is. I think for the BI engineers, right? Jack, correct me if I'm wrong. If the Informatica is something which they usually use it for the data pipelines or something, because being a data engineer, you have some really complex challenge, right? While building the data pipelines, scalable data pipelines, and you need something where you can write the custom things, right? Not using some drag and drop connections and all, and some limited features. So that is all the data engineering about, and that's why I was focusing on learning more about the Spark, designing those scalable pipelines, reading data from different sources, right? So Informatica, that is probably for the data analyst, business analyst, or the BI engineering role. So it is okay for the data engineering, but you cannot rely on that.
Yep. I'd agree with that. I think it also depends on company culture a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like where there's probably going to be some data engineering roles at other companies that are kind of like misnamed. They're actually like they think they want to hire a data engineer, but it's actually like a BI engineer.
Yeah.
Like it's actually someone who's like a little bit more just doing more analytics heavy stuff. And that's where like Informatica is going to be great. That's one of the things that's kind of hard about data engineering is that like me and you, like we're used to like data engineering at FANG, right? At the big tech companies, right?
Yeah.
But data engineering also exists outside of that. And like, that's where like some of these roles can definitely have like Informatica, Tableau, Talend, all those like, drag and drop boxy tools that are really useful because like you don't have to code, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
but like, it's not, they aren't really adopted in big tech though.
Yeah.
So.
Great. So I think that is, I have another important question, and even I want to know the answer for that. So Purvil Rupera is asking, what are the good resources for data modeling? I mean, sometimes it's really hard to figure out a good resource so that someone can practice the data modeling related question. So based on your experience, Jack, if you know any good resource, please recommend us. If not, then how do you approach the data modeling something?
That's a great one. I would say that like for me, like where I learned my data modeling and where I learned all that stuff was like from internal stuff at Facebook, like, and it was all like internal like documents at Facebook, right? And that like I actually haven't really learned very much of it from like external sources. So like I think I maybe this is like Shawshank, we need to write a book.
I really wish.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for that, like for sure.
Yeah, so see, I think what based on my experience, what I can suggest you guys, just first obviously be good at the data modeling concepts like the dimensions, facts, star schema, Snowflake, and these technical terminologies are really important. And then like just try to pick up the problems, any of the good problem. Let's say you want to design any e-com data warehouse, so how you are going to do it. Just think from the matrix perspective as well. Let's say if you have a matrix in your mind, that what kind of meaningful insight you are going to pull, you will be able to just map it. Okay, at least I need these tables and these attributes, else I won't be able to create that matrix, right? So just think through that perspective, and definitely you will be able to design a decent data warehouse, something. So that's how even I approach for the problems.
Yeah, and another thing I would recommend there that like sometimes people like can make mistakes around is that there's also like kind of like efficient data modeling, right? And like making sure to learn about how to like build cumulative tables so that like you're not scanning all of the daily data every day. And then like, because that can be incredibly inefficient to do it that way, as opposed to like just scanning one day and then adding it to the history, right? And like that's a very common mistake I've seen actually though. So like, that's definitely something also to remember about.
Yep, that's true. Okay, moving on to the next questions. Okay, I'm just again looking at the good one. Okay. Okay, this is also a good one. What is a typical career growth path of a data engineer? Right, this is also a good one. Yeah. And this
I like
is yeah, and this is from okay, Swati K. Yep. Go ahead, Jack. Answer this question.
Awesome. I think that there's a couple different paths, right? That you can kind of take here with data engineering, which I think is really cool. Like, because data engineering is kind of like in the middle in a lot of ways. So, like, honestly, I think that you can kind of like progress and like, become like senior data engineer, and then like at that point, like you actually have like a bunch of different options available to you, like where it's like you could go like be like a data engineering manager, like go and be a manager. You can go and do like what I do, like you can go be a tech lead, right? You can also like you can also do other things, right? You can also go and be like if say you want to be like after you've been doing data engineering for a couple of years, you're like, I don't want to do data as much, and I want to like kind of like be more in like a people role. And you could also be like a product manager, because like data engineering just gives you that skill set of like being really good about metrics and how things change and like how to be data driven and stuff like that. And if you know those things, you can really guide a product and guide things very well, right? And so really I think that those three are probably the most common I've seen, is like engineering manager, product manager, or tech lead. Those are like the three that like people kind of grow into after after they've gained a couple of years of experience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So
you know,
thanks for answering this question, Jack. And I would also like to share my opinion. I do remember when I was just like 1 or 2 year back, what I was thinking that after let's say 5 or 6 years, I just want to see myself on a technical road. But the way I'm getting exposure of the client interaction or the customer interaction, somehow it is pushing me to think through another direction as well, that I can also see myself on the like say soft skill side, the product manager kind of thing, or someone who is good at the technical side as well, let's say devrel kind of role, developer relationship engineer, right, where you are communicating with the clients and getting all the requirements and designing everything on a technical way and delivering it to the development team. So I'm also thinking through that direction. So probably after 2 3 years, like your mindset may get changed just because of the experience you are getting in the recent time.
yeah, and
Yeah.
always be open to things,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's definitely something I've realized is that as your career goes, that's like one of the reasons why I think that like planning your career more than like 2 or 3 years ahead is like not worth it, because like so many things can change, and like your own opinions of things can change, and like what you think you're good at can change, and that can also kind of open different doors to like different options, right? And so always like as you're going through your career, keep an open mind about like what are all the options for you, right? Don't try to like put yourself into a box, right?
Yeah. Great. So I think I'm getting one really common question, and I will try to answer it. And Jack, you can also correct me. So
Yeah.
people are asking like Kafka versus Spark streaming, RabbitMQ. So if you have
Yeah.
added the Spark streaming term, I think this is something which will be used as a combination with Kafka or RabbitMQ, right? Uh, don't read Spark streaming as a queuing mechanism, right? It is obviously you will be using it for processing the small packets of data or the D streams. So I hope I'm
Yeah.
correct for that one.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I think there's a couple different interesting things there. Like I would say that like Kafka is going to generally be your choice for big data
Yeah.
processing. Like RabbitMQ is better in some ways in the fact that like it has more you can have more complex like message sending and message stuff, whereas Kafka is just like a fire hose, right? And it just like things land in and then they need to come off, right? Land in, come off, land in, come off. Whereas like RabbitMQ is more like a crossing guard, and it's like, okay, this message is coming in, it should go this way and this way and this way, right? And like it kind of directs people in a couple different directions, which is really useful, but that capability also makes it less scalable, right? So and then yeah, you're totally right about Spark streaming. Spark streaming is actually what reads this dump, right?
Definitely.
And there's actually kind of two technologies in that space. Like I actually haven't used Spark streaming very much. I've used another technology called Apache Flink.
Okay.
So Flink is actually, I think of Flink as the leader in the streams processing space. And then Spark streaming is like probably a close second in terms of like actual like real-time processing. And both of those technologies are really good. They're both Scala based, right? And it's always interesting. So that's kind of how all those things fit together. And I think that's like real-time processing is something that's going to keep growing. It's going to be, if you really want to give yourself an edge as a data engineer, like really learning stream processing, there's going to be a lot of jobs out there that like, if you know stream processing, then there's going to be a lot less competition, because there's a million data engineers who know Spark and Batch.
Yeah.
There's a lot less that know real time.
Correct.
So
I think this is the really important point you have raised. If you just want to get some edge, definitely streaming is something which will make you stand apart from the crowd. And for me, like I worked on the Spark streaming, even not that much, but as a suggestion, definitely I'll be exploring the Apache Flink. So thanks for the really wonderful suggestion, Jack. Cool.
Yep.
So moving on to the next questions. Okay. All right. Looking again for the good question. Okay. I think we talked about the DSA. It's important for the data engineering. So I am good with that. Okay. So Nitish Kumar Singh, he's asking, Jack, What are your thoughts on Snowflake and Golang for parallel processing?
Oh, that's great. That's a great question. I mean, I think that's kind of like two questions, but like we'll go with it. So one of the things is like I think I really, really, really like Snowflake. I really think that they're doing a really good job at like that learning that is like a lot of the stuff, like especially for like companies that aren't at like a huge scale. They're at a big scale, but they're not at like a like planet scale, right? Then I think that that's where Snowflake is going to really like hit the nail on the head for a lot of companies, right? It's going to really do a really good job. And like I've already been seeing it, right? If like the SQL and like the UDF support that they have in Snowflake is incredible. Like you can do like pretty much everything that you can do in Spark in Snowflake, and like you can just do it all in SQL, which is really, really cool. I think Golang, like I haven't done as much stuff with Golang. Like I've wanted to. It's one of those Golang and Rust are like the two things that I've like really wanted to learn and get better at. But it's always like, there's only so many hours in the day, right? And like, but I've heard good things. I've heard good things, right? Like, what are your thoughts on Golang, Shashik?
See, first of all, I'm just getting demotivated because you know so many things, man. Yeah, so Golang is something, yeah, I didn't explore. So see, I worked on the like Python, I worked on Scala as well, I worked on the Java side as well. But yeah, Golang is something probably I haven't explored it yet. But yeah, see, sometimes I definitely feel demotivated in front of you, Jack.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. All right, so I saw one good and interesting question. Uh, all right, all right. Okay, first, yeah, Wesley Breathwaite. Booyah, this is cool, Jack. Great.
No, that's
Uh,
awesome, dude. Wesley's one of my best friends, dude. Yeah, Wesley, yeah.
Great. Okay, so this is good question. Like Akshay Kalyankar, he's asking, Jack, how would you interview a experienced data engineer? That is a good question, I
Yeah.
would say. I mean,
Oh
he
yeah.
actually want to know your thought perspective for a
Oh yeah.
senior data engineer role. What should be the expectation and how companies should judge a particular candidate?
Yeah, that's a great one. Like I think like that a big part of that is like so I've probably done like probably about a dozen or 2 dozen of those interviews in my career so far. So I have a pretty like I did a lot at Netflix. I interviewed so many senior candidates at Netflix because they only hire senior candidates at Netflix.
Ah,
But
okay.
like so I think there's a couple things. Like for me, like one of my favorite questions to ask senior candidates is like really open-ended questions, right? Like one of them is like, okay, we have this huge data feed that we need to dedupe, right? And then just ask them questions of like, how would you dedupe it? What would you do? And like, what are the pitfalls? And like, kind of like really kind of seeing how much experience they have with scale, right? And like understanding like, oh yeah, they actually know what they're doing here. They understand like where things are going to break and where there could be problems, and like they're aware of like those trade-offs. Like so there's kind of like I think of that as like kind of like the implementation logic. I like to kind of ask those questions. I also like to, there's also the data modeling round that I think is super important. Like they should have facts and dimensions and cumulative tables and, you know, all those different types of tables really down, really solid. That's another really important round. And I think another important round is like the behavior round.
Yeah.
Just to see like how they will, like what experience they have, right? And like how they will like interact with stakeholders and how they like how they hold themselves and different things like that. I think those are, and then I'd say the last round is like a coding round, right? Where you ask them a coding question, even though like a lot of senior engineers are like, I'm done with coding questions. I'm done. I already have experience. I'm an experienced engineer, right? And like, you're gonna get a coding question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely understand the pain of senior data engineers, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh
for
yeah.
them, yeah, they definitely think, I mean, I'm experienced data engineer, why I'm supposed to know these typical DSA sort of questions, right? Ask me some like challenging or real real world use cases, right, where I can show
Mhm.
my experience. So great. And Jack, in the chat window, I'm getting one interesting question
Yeah.
from Tech Transform. Any relation of Jack with Jack Ma?
That's amazing.
Great.
These
Okay.
questions are so good. Like,
Okay. So I okay. Let me move on to the next question. All right. So Surajit asking like, what are the basic tasks of a junior data engineer? Like, what kind of
Ooh,
responsibilities he or she used to take care of?
yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I would say a big part of that is going to be like implementing like pieces of a pipeline,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe like one or two steps, or like really learning how to do like one step in a pipeline, and like really having like a very scoped task, right? Like so that you can kind of like learn and kind of grow from there. And I think that that is going to be like probably the most common one, and then like also probably like troubleshooting data quality things, like
Yeah.
it's like why is this column null, or like and kind of like doing some really deep questions into like what's going on with data, right?
Yeah.
And like and kind of being like an investigator, right? I think that that's another probably pretty common
Yeah,
task
man.
for
Yeah,
a
man.
junior engineer.
Been through it. Been through that phase, so I can totally relate
Yeah.
with your words. And yep, guys. So we are approaching to the last 20 minutes. So try to ask some interesting questions for Jack as well. Like, let's make this conversation more funny and not
Yeah.
not too much funny. Yeah, we actually don't want to go off track, but yeah, definitely some interesting questions would be really appreciated. Uh,
Mhm.
all right, so moving on to the next question. All right, yeah. So someone Utkarsh is saying, Jack, love your LinkedIn feed. Advice for a fresh graduate with computer science background and is still figuring out interest whether to do deep in or the backend development or data engineering.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, and I think there's a couple things there. Like one is like internships, right? Internships will really, if you can dabble a little bit and like
Mhm.
maybe try out a couple internships like for 2 or 3 months each, and then kind of like learning from that. I think that's a huge thing you can do. Another big advice I would have is actually about LinkedIn. Is start building your brand,
Yeah,
start posting, start creating content. I mean, like it's really, really fun and rewarding. Like as you start growing and building a following, right? And highly, highly recommend that too. Even for new grads, even for people who are like early in the process. Like I mean, I've seen high school students on LinkedIn who are like building their following. It's pretty
yeah,
cool. Like and so I think that's another thing I would say. Another thing is like projects. Like if you can like work on like side projects, like work on like and that's how like for me I've been able to like kind of keep up my software engineering skills is
hmm,
like I will work on side projects and work on these side things that are like very unrelated to my job. I personally really like JavaScript a lot, but like JavaScript and data engineering is not a thing.
yeah,
It's not a thing at all,
yeah.
right? But I really like it, and that's the language I use for almost all my software engineering work is
Okay.
JavaScript, and so like definitely kind of dabbling around and learning a lot is especially as a fresh grad. That's
Yeah.
a very important thing, right? Is you're still very early in the process, so
That's true. And yeah,
you know,
guys, true. Your starting 5 years of your career is going to be really important for you. So utilize it, figure out, do experiment, whatever you can. And nowadays, definitely, content plus code, this is booming, right? If you are someone who has a public visibility, it will actually bring lot of good opportunities for you. I am feeling this one, like being at YouTube, LinkedIn, and other social media platforms, giving back to the community. It helps you like to interact with some amazing people like Jack, and that's how like I like LinkedIn is someone who give me this opportunity to connect with some smart brains, and I'm learning from them. So that is really amazing. Let's
yeah, it's
move
great.
on to
I've had the
the
same experience. Like,
yeah. Yeah, so so Nikhil Arora asking, what skill set do you expect from a fresher? I think we answered this question, Nikhil. Like being at least a data engineer, what kind of at least common skill sets you should have. But for a fresher, see, common things would be you should definitely be good at the problem solving side. They don't expect you to have some amazing and cool real world projects on your resume because you are a fresher. You cannot get the exposure of terabytes of petabytes of data. Okay, so just try to create some real world projects, whatever research you can do, and add on some good skill sets, explore cloud side, understand more and important roles and responsibilities of a data engineer, and that's how you can proceed. So also, like if you just want to know crisp roadmap, I already created that video. You can definitely check that out. Okay, so Kartikeya Singh asking, before San Francisco, where you live?
So I was living in Utah. I was living in Utah for the last like year or so. Like I actually was living in San Francisco in January. I moved to Utah and now I'm back. So like, yeah, I was in Utah for like about 7-8 months, something like that. Like it was pretty good. Like I mean, that's where I grew up. I was born in Utah, right? That's like where my family is and all that stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, it was great. It was great being back there, being close to family and all that stuff. So yeah, it's pretty great.
Yo, so finally I got one interesting question. Akshay Kalyankar, Jack, do you have anything in your mind for your own startup?
For my own startup? That's a
If
great
any
one.
plan, don't reveal it. I don't think
Yeah.
so. I mean, yeah,
It's
because
stealth. It's very stealth.
yeah, you
right?
never know. Probably you never know. Like Airbnb can watch this video, and
Yeah.
they
They're
will
gonna
be
take
like,
my idea,
Jack.
dude.
They will be like, Jack, seriously, we are paying for you, and you are working on your startup. How is this possible?
Yeah.
Well, just kidding. I mean, yeah. So if you can share your thought, if like you,
Oh, yeah, I
let's say
mean,
not
like,
for
I think so. For
instantly
me, like,
after 5 year,
yeah.
10 years, if you have such kind of thought.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I think that there's definitely room to like just grow, like in terms of like I wanted to start something like a coaching thing of some kind, like and doing like coaching of some kind. I wanted to try doing some of that. Like I don't like that's probably in like a year or two or something like that. I guess like a startup, like I've tried startups, right? And I've done a couple startups, and like they're hard, dude. They're really hard. Startups are really hard, like and so like for me personally, I kind of view my like entrepreneurship as like being what's called more of like a solopreneur, where like I'm the whole company, right? And it's like I'm creating the content, I'm doing the coaching, I'm doing all of that stuff. Like I think of myself doing more of stuff like that because it seems easier to me than to like start a company and like hire a bunch of people and like build stuff. That just sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot more. Whereas like creating content and teaching people and like doing this stuff is fun. This stuff is really fun. This stuff gets me really excited. So like I would say that like I'm more likely to become like a solopreneur than I am to like do another startup. So
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, guys, whosoever is asking for the roadmap or the common skill sets we need for a data engineer, actually we already talked about in the previous part of this stream. So once this stream is done, you can just revisit this stream. Or again, whosoever is asking for the roadmap link, so just go onto my channel. There is a separate playlist named as the Big Data and Data Engineering, and you will find that video there. So you can just go through it. So we have one question from Neeraj. So he's saying, I have a close to 4 years of experience in ETL, Informatica, PwC. How can I become a data engineer? I mean, step by step skill gaining procedure and duration, please. So guys, again, Neeraj, thanks for asking this question. So for a step by step skill gaining procedure, again, I have created a really crisp roadmap for that, along with the good resources, which even I followed to start my data engineering journey. So you can definitely watch that. But for the duration, I think definitely Jack can talk about it. Like if you are actually starting from something like this or that kind of background, so in a typical way, like what should be the minimum window?
I think you're close. I think he's close. I mean, if you already have 4 years of experience with like Informatica, a lot of that data knowledge is transferable. It's not like you're starting from scratch, right? Like you have a lot of really good knowledge. I mean, that's actually like my first year on the job, right? I was working with like Tableau and Talend and Vertica and like a lot of like that was like my first year of like
creating
doing
those
this work,
dashboards.
right? Yeah, I made some very fancy dashboards, dude, right? and like then from there that's like the next thing I picked up was Hadoop. this was like 6 years ago. I wouldn't like necessarily recommend that now. I would say like one of the things that you should probably learn is Spark though, because like Spark is probably going to be a very common thing. Or if your company is different though, like if your company is like using Snowflake or BigQuery or like one of the like Spark is just the open source option, right? Whereas like you can also work with some of the more branded options and like get good at those, and those still count as data engineering too. And I think duration wise, like, I mean, if you really focus down and like learn this really quickly, I bet you could make a transition to data engineer in like 6 months to a year, dude. Like easy. Like, and like, yeah, it's exciting. It's a very exciting time. Like,
I think Neeraj, your question is answered. So great. Enjoy that one. All right. So moving on to the next question. Kartike is asking, Jack, who's your favorite Indian singer or actor? I think for Jack it is
singer or
Sushant.
actor, dude. I need to learn more about that stuff, dude. There's so many Bollywood actors out there, dude. Like, I need to get better at that stuff. I need to consume more media, dude. I don't even think I can name my favorite American actor. I don't watch very many movies.
Okay.
I need to like get more into that stuff for sure.
Great. All right. So, okay, moving on to the next questions. Again, we discuss about the uh, skill sets. So, Utkarsh is asking, so Jack, you retiring by 35. I read one of your comments and now I have started thinking and calculating how much I need to retire at 35.
Yeah.
Did you actually say that? You want to retire at 35?
Yeah, dude, I think it's possible. I totally think it's
Oh, no,
possible, dude.
man.
Like everything, like my financial advisor, like people I've talked to say that it's actually realistic. That like I'm not like just putting a number in the sky and being like, dude, like I mean, because that's like for me that's 8 years. I have 8 more years of a career to like work with, right? And like I think that that's totally possible. And like and so like it's definitely interesting. I mean, I feel very blessed. I feel very 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 fortunate. Like it's like kind of crazy to even think that that's a possibility. Like I guess like for me, I wouldn't necessarily mean that I would like retire. Like I would like quit working, because I just don't think that that's possible for me. It's more like work becomes optional at that point, right? Work becomes a thing that I would want to do if it's fun, right? I'd want to do my work and do my job if it's fun, right? I don't want to like if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. And that's why I kind of view 35 as like that's when I can make those kind of decisions a little bit more, right? So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it, right?
Okay. Okay, so question from Kshitij saying any data engineering internship at Airbnb. And I think Jack answered me this question in the podcast. Like Airbnb, like they don't hire the freshers, right? They only hire the experienced people.
Oh no, that's Netflix. Netflix is
Oh,
not
sorry.
Airbnb does do internships. There'll probably be some data engineering internships next summer.
Okay.
There's not that many of them because Airbnb is actually not that big of a company. But like, especially compared to like Google and Amazon and like, companies that have like millions of employees. I think Airbnb has like a couple thousand employees, right?
Okay.
But like there should be a couple for next summer. I think that like, don't be like messaging me about it right now, because like I already get those messages, and the hiring will probably start like sometime in the beginning of next year. Like it's a little early right now. So
Okay, cool. So we have one question from G Anonymous, and it's a kind of technical question. So he is asking like, we have a problem with AWS Kinesis generating millions of small files to S3, right? We are doing micro batch processing. How can we merge all these tiny JSON? So he actually, so you should, I think you might have tried the Stack Overflow, but he didn't get the proper answer.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great one. I mean, so like a part of that is like, so I guess a part of that is like you can have a step in there that like consolidates those files, right? And like some of that's like if it's like, or using like it's probably the Kinesis fire hose that like is dumping all those events. I actually had a similar issue with when I was working at Netflix with Kinesis and everything. Like it's like with like the network requests. That's what the log was. It was like every network request that Netflix receives. It was like a ridiculously huge data set. And a part of that was you need to like have a step to consolidate a lot of those files, right? Or like I'm pretty sure that there's like a configuration with Kinesis where like you could actually like say like don't write a file if it's like one event, right? And like you have to like wait a little bit to like write a file so that it's not just like one event per file, right? And because then you have problems with like S3 listings, right? And like trying to like even read all those files, it's like, oh, there's too many files here. And like, yeah, I definitely get what you're saying though, man. It's a big challenge.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and his response is like, that is correct, and AWS Lambda breaks merging these files. Yeah, I mean, so as per Jack, I think there should be some configuration on the Kinesis side. You can definitely explore that one.
Yep.
All right, all right. So we are having like just 8 minutes. So let's try to jump on one or two questions. After that, I'll not be reading any of the comments because I would just give some time to my audience to thanks the Jack for this wonderful session in the comment box. So let's move on to next one or two more questions. Okay, so Emoshu James, sorry for that if I pronounce your name incorrectly. So hi Jack, Wilson and Shashank, thank you for putting this meeting together. My goal is to become a data scientist for Apple, but then I have a passion for robotics. Which industry can I specialize in?
I mean, that's like, I guess like those things kind of seem like they line up. They can line up. I mean, is Apple's doing some like car stuff now, right? I swear Apple's doing some car stuff. So you could do stuff there. Like, I mean, if you have a passion for robotics, though, there's like a lot of things. I mean, like Amazon has a lot of robotics going on, right? I mean, they have like a weird amount of robots in their warehouses and stuff, right? I mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, like, because I guess it's like
Seems like it is more based on here. I think he should give more priority to the interest, right? Because let's say after 1 year he shouldn't be regretted that, oh man, why did I pick this data science? I was way more interested for the robotics. So if someone asks my personal opinion, I would definitely recommend to give more priority to your interest. If you like the robotics, definitely you can grow in that domain. You can do wonders. Just explore, and create some amazing stuff.
Definitely follow your passions, man. That's like it's way more important to follow your passions than to like get big names on your resume, right? Like that's way more important. So
yeah, true that. All right, so okay, so Alicia Sheikh is asking, I'm joining FB in a month as a data engineer. Your suggestions, please.
Yeah. Okay. Get good at data swarm. Like, I mean, well, like, I think one of the things that's kind of interesting about FB is data engineering at FB versus like other companies, which I think is very interesting, is that like it's very SQL heavy, like very SQL heavy. Like things that I would do in Scala at Netflix or Airbnb, I would do in SQL at Facebook, which is it can be a good thing because like the infrastructure at Facebook is so good. It's just like when you get in there, you're going to be like, wow, the data infrastructure here is like really good. Especially like if you have a comparison of like other companies, you'll realize that like it's really good there. That's a big thing. And I think like really like another big thing is like working with your manager to like pick up a task that you can learn and like try to grow pretty quickly there, right? And like really try to get into that culture there. Facebook is a very good culture. You're gonna learn a lot. Like it's exciting. Like,
Great. All right, so just one last question for today's stream, guys, and after that, please, I will definitely ask you to just like show your gratitude for Jack for taking out time for this 1 hour long stream and answering all these amazing questions and sharing his experience. And also let me know in the comment section if you want me to host another live stream in coming days, probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or after 1 month. Do let me know in the comment section. I'll again bring Jack onto this live stream.
That'd be great. This has been wonderful.
I really enjoyed
what's our last question here, man?
That's the main reason I actually enjoy the streaming because not the real-time data process streaming, the YouTube live streaming. Because we used to get a chance to interact with the live audience, so that's why it's really great. So last question for today's live stream, and that is from Varun Gowda. And how important is mental health being at work from your experience, Jack? And I think this is the best question to end the live stream.
Dude, this is an amazing question. This is a very, very good question. So like, I would say very, very important. Like so important. And like for a couple of reasons too. Like I think for one thing is like for me, I notice that like on days when I like make mistakes and and I don't prioritize my mental health as much, I'm less creative, I'm less productive, and I'm less happy. And it's like, wow, like it's like a spiral, right? Where it can spiral up, where you're like, wow, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling creative, I'm feeling productive, and I'm feeling energized. And you can get like all of those together. It kind of like you can spirals in both directions, right? You can like either like spiral up or you spiral down. And at least that's how it is for me. And so that's where like I really think that it's important to like have good stress management, and a big part of that is also around like prioritizing well, right? And a part of that is like having a good relationship with your manager to make sure that like you're working on like the right amount of stuff and you have the right workload and you're delegating things the right way and stuff like that, like is also super important. And like and also just make sure to take some time out of the day to like breathe. And like for me, I like to go on walks with my dog, right? Like I go on a lot of walks with my dog. I go on like 3 walks a day with her, and like that calms me down so much. But yeah, highly recommend like, you know, doing the prioritization there. Mental health and well-being, so important. So important. Like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And thank you so much, Jack, for this wonderful live stream. And I hope you would enjoyed this entire conversation with the audience. And audience, if you like this entire live stream, then make sure to like this stream and subscribe the channel for more exclusive content on the data engineering and some amazing podcast on my channel for the stories full of hustle, full of struggle, so that it will motivate you to.
They're amazing. They're amazing. I highly recommend them. I've been watching them. Like, oh, dude, they're so good. Every time I watch them, I'm like, dude, I'm so inspired. Like,
yeah. And everybody is thanking you in the chat box,
Awesome.
Jack. So again from Trupti Dev, yes, of course, great meeting and listening, Jack's valuable inputs and suggestions. Keep it up. Thank you so much. And Amoshu, thank you, Jack, Wilson, and Shashank. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. These words and I mean these are the true motivation for us. Like, let's say talking about me and Jack, we keep on sharing thoughts on the LinkedIn, and we are just sharing our experience, what we face and what we learn in our journey, so that there will be a lot of people who can connect with us and know in connect of us with in terms of the thoughts, right? Because there could be multiple people who are having the same story, but they are not able to get that motivation to move ahead because they are not getting pushed. They feel that they won't be able to make it. But when they see a person who is actually doing good at that part, you definitely get inspired. So that's how we are doing it. And we'll keep bringing such amazing content for you guys. So oh my god, the chat box, I definitely want to extend this live stream. But so it's Sunday. I definitely want Jack to enjoy this Sunday as well. Please do post this. Yeah, this stream will be on my YouTube channel. This is not going to like deleted. It will be on my channel forever until unless I delete my YouTube channel. Okay, so thank you, Jack.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Dude. This has been a wonderful opportunity. Like,
yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining. So I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Till then, just stay safe, stay home, take care of yourself and your family too. Bye bye, Jack.
Awesome.
Take care.
See you.